PodcastCoug Season 7, Episode 11.
You're listening to the PodcastCoug Radio Network with your host, James Laurie. The PodcastCoug is your weekly Coug on Demand show featuring all things Cougs and Washington State Cougar football. And now, here is your host, PodcastCoug.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the PodcastCoug. I am James Laurie, the PodcastCoug, and you are listening to the PodcastCoug, where we're all things Cougar football, 30 minutes of Coug talk, and we're talking about rebuking the devil, the Sun Devils, last Saturday, 28-18, and now we are focusing on Arizona in Tucson on Saturday morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the PodcastCoug, episode 11 for the 7th consecutive full season. We're heading to postseason bowl game. It looks like the LA Bowl. We're going to see what happens. 2 games left, 1 game at a time. It's not easy. We got Arizona going to be a tough game, and the UW, no doubt, even tougher. These are the 2 tough teams coming up here. We thought Arizona is just going to be a cakewalk. Absolutely not what they did to UCLA on Saturday. Let's rewind on those Sun Devils. First half, we played out a remarkably similar, really, to last season's game against the Sun Devils. The Cougs just raced out to a 28-0 lead, and then just sat back, as Arizona State, we just drained the clock. And that first half was great. Second half, obviously not so great at all, actually pretty horrible. And we saw how critical it is, right, Nikhil Watson, to our offense, right? So another 100-plus yard effort with 3 touchdowns, another 42 yards in receiving. Nokia has definitely carried our offense this year when he's played and been healthy. Great to see Jenkins in there, too. I'd like to see Schlenbaker get in there. Let's burn off his red shirt. I really want to see Schlenbaker if we need him, right? Great effort by the defense in the first half. Again, our defense steps up time and time again. Nikhil Watson, again, ran for 116 yards against Arizona State, and it's the first Coug with back-to-back 100-yard rushing yards since Jerome the Ghost Harrison back in 2005. You remember? I think Bob Robertson and Jerome the Ghost Harrison, was that 17 years ago? My gosh, 2005. And then, of course, Nakia rushed for 166 yards at Stanford. We're talking about back-to-back 100-yard games, right? Hasn't been since Jerome the Ghost Harrison, 2005. So good going, Nakia. Arizona State's first half possessions were like this, 9 yards punt, 3 yards punt, 22 yards punt, 14 yards punt, 11 yards interception, 15 yards punt. Way to go, defense, right? That's how we established dominance. We just dominated. It's Dickert's defense, right? Love it. And if we could just bottle up that and sell it, that'd be great. Dickert's defense, love it. Big part of that defense success has been really the safety Jaden Hicks, right? All of a sudden he's emerging. It looks like, it's a future stud Jaden Hicks, and he had a tackle that prevented an explosive ASU play on first possession. Brennan Jackson, again, shows up getting around the edge, making plays. Watch out if you're the opposing quarterback. Brennan Jackson has your number. And the receivers had, just a so-so day, catching passes, but they were blocking and stuffing out ASU's defensive backs. Hey, how about Lincoln Victor, right? He is a stud. Lincoln Victor, Ron Stone Jr. making plays, causing an incompletion, and Shaw Smith-Wade interception. Solid effort by Shaw Smith-Wade. And Derek Langford took care of the Arizona State's receivers for much of the day. So after it was, 21-0, it was Armu Jaheed stuffs Valladay for 2 straight plays, and then Andrew Edson, just pierces through and bullets, and sacks their quarterback, Emory Jones. So 3rd and 10, and we decide to run. Okay, 3rd and 10. And we decide to run. And guess what? 1 out of 20 times it actually works, right? Nakia Watson blows by the ASU defenders and picks up 20 on 3rd and 10. right? Nakia just plowed through ASU's line and to score his third touchdown. Once again, Deion Henley was everywhere. He led in tackles, stopped Emory Jones short of the sticks in Arizona State's opening second half, and made just a great stop on a punt return to limiting Arizona State's with good field position. So, we are absolutely going to miss Deion next year, big time. Literally, Deion is just, we are going to miss him so much. Deion Henley. Wish he was back for another year. That said, Valladay was the real deal. He is the real deal. Unfortunately, it's Arizona State's only threat to their team this year. Pretty pathetic, kind of just one-dimensional, but ASU is definitely going to be in that rebuilding mode. Of course, the changes of coaches and everything that's happened with their sanctions, but as you know, second half was just bad. I mean, very, very bad. Nearly everything about the second half was bad. Our tackling in the fourth quarter was just inexcusable and just not good at all. Injuries. Our line is already thin, and now back up. Makea Feita goes down, and then Robert Farrell also got hurt. Where that he also got hurt on an opponent's unnecessary roughness that went uncalled. So Cam Ward was pretty good and efficient in the first half, but just awful in the third quarter. What happens to Cam Ward? Why is he just, I don't get it. We understand the emotional part of it. Your mind, 28-0, right? 21-0, 28-0. With the ball on the ASU 23 and a chance to score another 7 points, ball on the 23-yard line, Cam badly misses a wide-open tight end, Billy Riveri, and missed Lincoln Victor, and then took a 14-yard sack and knocked us out of field goal range. Just brutal. I mean, Lincoln Victor was wide open. And it's simple. Cam Ward just does not and cannot throw downfield. He just doesn't. And he also misses guys that are wide open. I just don't, he doesn't have that slow motion, that seeing space and slow. It's just rush, and we just can't afford any mistakes against Arizona on Saturday. No mistakes at all. I mean, we cannot afford to make any mistakes on Saturday. And speaking about Arizona, we're talking about the Wildcats next, right here on the second half of the Podcast Coug.
Hey, Coug fans. You're podcasting with James Laurie and the Podcast Coug Radio Network. The Podcast Coug is your weekly Coug on Demand show, featuring all things Cougar football in Washington State. To help you get through the week, hit the subscribe button or check us out on iTunes, the App Store, iOS, Google Play, Stitcher, or at PodcastCoug.com.
The real estate agent you work with matters, and a great agent helps you own the home of your dreams. And your dreams come true with James Laurie at Coldwell Banker Bain, representing clients like you 24/7, from condos to colonials and everything in between. If you're selling, buying, need a price analysis, or just a contractor referral, ask James, winner of the 2015 through 2019 International Coldwell Banker Diamond Award, with dozens and dozens of 5-star Zillow reviews and Seattle Magazine's 5-star award winner for 2018 through 2020. James Laurie, Coldwell Banker Bain, at 425-466-3672 or jameslaurie.net. Rock solid results.
You're listening to the Podcast Coug.
Two running backs in with the quarterback. Signals called. All man in motion going through to the right side. Handoff. Wings out to the right side. Touchdown, Washington State.
You are listening to the Podcast Coug.
Welcome back to the second half of the Podcast Coug. I am James Laurie, the Podcast Coug, where we're all things Cougar football, all things Cougs, and the Cougs with a 2-game winning streak heading to the desert for an interesting game against Jaden DeLaura, who is trying to get Arizona bowl eligible, but we need to win out, beating us and Arizona State. Arizona is 4-6, And so they need to beat us in Arizona State. That's the bottom line to get to bowl eligible. Arizona Stadium in sunny Tucson, Arizona, my favorite place to kind of hang out. Not my favorite, one of my favorite places to go to. I love Cave Creek. I love the Segura. I love the hills. If you know what Cave Creek is, Carefree, Arizona, Cave Creek, there's got the hills and the Segura, that backyard Western feel in Hollywood. And there is Segura National Park, which is in Tucson, I believe. I haven't been to that, but pretty interesting. I don't care for the blacktop in Scottsdale. If I was going to, we're thinking about transitioning there someday. Would hope not to have blacktop all around me. Like to be in the hills with the natural landscape. But here we are in Tucson, as Steve Miller and the Beatles. Even Paul McCartney made reference to Tucson, and so did Steve Miller. It's 11 a.m. on the Pac-12 network. Arizona leads the series 26-18, but we've won 4 of the past 5 games. And when was the last time we had a morning kickoff, literally an a.m. kickoff? I haven't looked it up. It's been a while, right? So it is 11 a.m. By the way, it's our 3rd consecutive afternoon game, and it's like we've been playing out more afternoon games than evening games this year. Can't remember the last time this has happened, but all those times that were so many dark night games, and so lately it's just been all afternoon games, which is great. Now we're facing a better Arizona team that we previously thought, right, earlier this year, where they had just only won 1 game all last year. They were the basement. Only one. They were 1-11, right? We're talking about a team that beat UCLA. Yep, the Arizona Wildcats playing better since Delora took over. Cougs are a 4-point favorite. Cougs lead the Pac-12 with 68 tackles for loss, 3rd in the Pac-12 with 27 sacks, while the offense leads the Pac-12 in red zone at 89%. Right? We talk about Nakia Watson owns back-to-back 100-yard rushing games. Deion Henley, 2nd in the Pac-12 with 95 tackles. Brennan Jackson, 4th with 11 tackles for loss. Right, and Arizona pulled off that huge upset with knocking off 9th-ranked UCLA last Saturday, 34-28 in the Rose Bowl. Huge win. Nobody saw that coming. Huge. Delora has done it twice. He beat the Apple Cup, the AC with the Huskies last November, right? Planted the flag at the 50-yard line, and then goes down to the Rose Bowl, right? Different team. Goes down to the Rose Bowl single-handedly and beat the UCLA. I mean, that just, it's shocking. Nobody saw that. Delora had his 5th 300-yard passing game of the season. He tossed a go-ahead touchdown pass with 6 minutes remaining, and the Wildcats defense denied UCLA on its final drive while reaching the UA 29-yard line with less than a minute to play. Right? Delora completed 22 of 28 for 315 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions during their best win under, second-year coach Jed Fish. Hey, speaking about Jed Fish, little backstory here. Arizona was 1-11 last year. Like I said, 1-11. Kind of a joke of the entire Pac-12, right? And Phil, they're a basketball school, right? Come on, right? Jed, right, grew up in New Jersey, never played football. I guess he was a swimmer, but he actually competed with swimming, but never played football. Went to the University of Florida. Why? Only reason why, because he wanted to work for Steve Spurrier. He said, I want to work for that guy, Steve Spurrier. I want to be in football. That's my career. I'm choosing football as my career, and I want to work for Steve Spurrier. And that's exactly what he wanted to do. To work for Steve Spurrier at the Florida Gators, and he got the job with Florida, right? And Spurrier, which got his break in coaching when he was named a graduate assistant coach for the Florida Gators football team in 1999, 2000. During that time, he earned a master's degree in sports management. And then, he worked in the NFL for, as an assistant, several different NFL teams, right? Then coached UCLA, right? The team that he beat last Saturday. Then he became head football coach at Arizona in 2017. So, Fish was hired by UCLA Bruins as their team's offensive coordinator. And then he was named the head coach at UCLA for the remaining of the 2017 season after the firing of Jim Mora. So 2017, gets in there as an offensive coordinator, then becomes head coach at UCLA after Jim Mora, right? Got fired, and then the Wildcats, they just anyway, then they picked him up. Anyway, Wildcats live and die with DeLaura. Okay, they just live and die with him. He's when he's on, right? When DeLaura is on, they have a chance to win. Right? When he's off, they don't have any defensive playmakers to run just to beat any team. I mean, they just are off. Right? So containing DeLaura is the key. Something that has been evidence all season long. If we can force DeLaura into bad decisions, the Wildcats are going to struggle to keep up. It's simple as that. We have got to put pressure on DeLaura and have him make bad decisions. And the Wildcats, are absolutely horrible on the run this year. Right? You've heard his response right after the UCLA game. You've read about it, about playing the Cougs, right? In a conference on video, on tape, on TV, on YouTube. He says, just watch. This game, it's personal. Okay? This, of course, is locker room material. Dickert even knows about the comment since he, DeLaura's mellowed out a little bit because the media is all over that, and he's just saying, hey, we're just going to prepare a team and play the best we can. We're doing treatment and study and class and film and, practice everything. And, but it's not really clear why DeLaura left. Okay. We really don't know. There's no inside information as to why DeLaura left Washington State. So here's some conspiracy theories. Well, it's not really conspiracy. These are just kind of theories here. It could be since Rollo was fired, he said, you know what, I'm out of here. I came because of Rollo, Hawaii, and I have the same belief as Rollo, or I don't know. Since Rollo got fired, I'm out of here. I'm going to the portal. So it could be that. It could be his off-field issue, which he had a significant off-field issue, right? Bad decision-making, irresponsible decisions, getting in trouble with the law. We're talking about drinking alcohol and operating a vehicle. He got big time in trouble, right? I think he got out of it, but it's not, that's a bad offense, right? Perhaps not getting along with Coach Dickert. Dickert is a structured discipline guy. He's all about discipline. And I believe, Jake won't accept players who are, breaking rules. It could be any sort of rule, right? You name it, right? Any one of the Mike Leach's rules. You're out. You're either out or you need to change. And perhaps he just said, forget it, I'm out of here. Maybe him and Dickert just had a fallout. Who knows what happened in the locker room, right? But perhaps, here's another, this is minor, but coming from Hawaii, right? It's 88 degrees almost 365 days a year in Hawaii, coming to Pullberg, where the winters are just brutal, in November, December, perhaps, or just throughout the wintertime, perhaps, it could be the winter, it could be the locker room issues with the team. It could be that he transferred out and committed to Arizona on the same day that Cam Ward announced his plans to coming into Washington State on his transfer, right? We really don't know. Maybe 20 years from now, there'll be an interview and somebody's going to spill the beans on why DeLaura quit Washington State. But you know what else quit? If you remember the second half of the Sun Bowl last year, he didn't come back to the second half of the Sun Bowl, right? Granted, he does get credit for beating the UW, right? The AC planting the flag 50-yard line at Husky Stadium last year, which is just epic. Don't be surprised if the Huskies do the same thing at Martin right on the 26th. Don't be surprised if Washington wins this Apple Cup. And you know what? This is it's going to be a tough game, right? Penix, right? He's going to be a big draft pick. He's not coming back. He's 22 years old. Penix is out of here. He will not be returning to the University of Washington, right? He's in his prime and he's injury prone. 22 years old. So I'd say there's a 99% chance he's gone. And they've got a great team, great receivers, great quarterback. Their defense is not that great, but you know what? There's no guarantee we're beating the Huskies this year. And if the Huskies win, guess who's planting the Husky flag on the 50-yard line at Martin Stadium? Thanks to Delora setting that precedence, right? So at the end of the day, Delora says it's just another opponent, right? He says, we're just going to go in this week, grind it out, watch the films, and then offensively and defensively, we're going to go out there on game day and do our thing. Well, that's a political way of getting out of the thing when he said, hey, it's personal. Just watch, wait, you see, man, it's personal, right? What did he say? He said, just watch. This game, it's personal. So he's got something going on between either Dickert or the team, and so we're going to see what happens. Can he keep us cool till Saturday? Saying Wazoo is just another opponent, I don't think so. I don't think we're just another opponent. But since our starting quarterback and the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year, he was our starting quarterback and Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. For sure, this is an issue, and we'll see what happens. Anyway, Brennan Jackson said, hey, we're just focusing on the Arizona Wildcats. That's all we're focusing on, not just one player. So we got the team. It's Arizona we're focusing on. So coming off a 1-win season last year, Delora has been what Arizona needed, to slowly turn around the program. But one quarterback, one guy just won't do it. You need guys, you need players, you need recruiting, you need a good defense. And Delora is a good, Delora is as good as it gets off script. He's a good, at improving. I mean, he's just incredible quarterback on the improv. And Arizona makes tons of plays while scrambling around. He just tons of plays. But defense has been a major issue for Arizona throughout the season, and the Cats' offense is among the most productive in the country. Hey, there's no player that's more important to this team's success than Delora. It's all Delora, right? Delora ranks second in the Pac-12, 313 passing yards per game. He's thrown 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions on a 64% completion rate. And Arizona's passing offense ranks about 6th in the country, okay? So Delora's favorite target is Cowing, one of the best receivers in D1 college football. He averages 96 yards per game, he's scored 7 touchdowns. Dorian Singer is at 84 yards per game, is also another guy to watch out for. He's also the Blitnikoff Award, both of those guys. So we can't give up big plays. We just can't give up the big plays, and that's the challenge. That's where the challenge is not to give up the big plays. This is something that Arizona and Delora is going to do, and it's going to happen. They will chunk it out. They are going to put up some big plays. We can't contain every single big play. I doubt our defense is going to contain them 100%. So there's going to be a few big plays. Let's hope we show up, right? I mean, we can't be looking at, we're going to the LA Bowl and playing the number 1 team out of the Mountain West, which is Boise State or Fresno State. We can't be focusing on any sort of bowl game, LA Bowl, or anything else like that, okay? We need to focus on Arizona, and then we've got a huge game after that. But Arizona averages 9 yards per passing attempt. Those are Mike Leach's numbers, right? So, however, right? So we've got the Pac-12's number 1 scoring defense. That's right. Washington State, number 1 in scoring defense. We're still at 20 points. Seems like we've been there week after week. We rank in the top of every defensive stat category. We lead the Pac-12 in tackles for loss at 68. We sit 3rd with 27 sacks. Arizona's given up 12 sacks across just the past 4 games. They've given up 12 sacks. So when the Cats' passing offense struggles, the team just crumbles, right? Just crumbles. Arizona doesn't enjoy a reliable ground game, and its defense is among the worst in the Pac-12, right? So before it upset UCLA, Arizona allowed more than 40 points in 4 consecutive losses in the Pac-12's top tier. We're talking Oregon, Washington, USC, and Utah, right? The Wildcats gave up 39 points in week 2 to their loss at Mississippi State. With Mike Leach in Tucson, gave up 49 points in week 4 against their loss to Cal. As bad as team as Cal is, gave up 49 points. So the Cats rank 11th in the Pac-12 and 124th nationally in scoring defense. And they're 11th in the conference and 127th nationally in total defense. Defense is horrible, right? And Arizona is the lowest graded team nationally in rushing defense. So, their defense ranks in the bottom 4 nationally with 13 sacks and 38 tackles for loss. That's great for our offensive line, which has been plagued by injuries in the past 2 games. But our ground game is steadily improving right behind, Nakia Watson and Jenkins. So we're getting better on our ground game. Heck, I'd like to see Schlenbaker in there again. I'd like to see us burn off Schlenbaker's red shirt. I want to go Nakia and Schlenbaker. That's what I want to see, more of Schlenbaker. Burn his red shirt off. Why not, right? I'm not afraid of that at all. Why not? But the Cats have picked up just 2 interceptions this year. That's it, 2 of them. While Cam hasn't been great, right? Cam's not been great. He's been okay, right? Doesn't walk on water though. Does not walk on water. Okay? He scrambles too much, throws side to side, and doesn't throw the ball downfield. Right? He is avoiding turnovers though. He's thrown 7 touchdowns against 1 interception over the past 5 games. That's pretty good. Right, only 1 interception in the past 5 games. So Cam, I'm not want to be hard on Cam. He's a good guy, right? He's a good guy, but let's face it, right? It just doesn't throw the ball downfield. So a lot of scrambling, and there's guys that are open, like wide open, and somehow he doesn't see the guys wide open. So what happened last time when we played Arizona? So we became bowl eligible with just a really memorable performance, really foggy senior night, blowing out the Wildcats 44-18 in Polberg a year ago, last November. DeLaura was on our team, though. He was on our side with Borghi, career high. Max had 139 yards. Calvin Jackson Jr., Travell Harris caught 2 touchdowns. And again, we won 4 out of the last 5 games. Let's make it another game. Let's make it another one, right? Not happy with this 6-game winning. We can't go into the AC. We need this, obvious. Both teams need it, right? Let's make Saturday another day to remember. Hey, that's it for episode 11 of the 7th season of the Podcast Coug. Thank you so much for listening. It's Wazoo at Arizona. God bless and go Cougs.
You've been listening to the Podcast Coug with your host, James Laurie. The Podcast Coug is your weekly Coug on Demand show featuring all things Cougs and Washington State Cougar football. This has been a presentation of the Podcast Coug Radio Network. Find us at podcastcoug.com.
T-O-N-Z-A-Z-A-Z.